Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, stop this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. Everybody in this context refers to us and our cats. You are free to feel however you want about Rand. He's a fictional character. Please don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
Okay,
Okie dokie, artichokey.
this is Everybody Hates Rand, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Emily Jusha.
And I am Sally Gutcher.
We're just jumping right in because we have big plans.
Yeah.
Watching BTS videos.
My friend Elise, our friend Elise, I should
our
say.
old roommate.
Our old roommate. Elise was our roommate during the early days of EHR when we were recording in our Brooklyn apartment in New York City at the world's shittiest kitchen table. Mm-hmm. So she has sat through many EHR recordings, and she is downstairs reliving those days while we record the podcast.
The horror. Reliving the horror.
Yeah. Being back.
Real final girl shit.
Hi, Tybalt. Ed is not here this week to purr into the microphone, at least not yet.
Guys. But yeah, any moment he could appear. He has a way of mysteriously showing up on his own schedule.
But yeah, after this, not that BTS is more important to me than you guys, but after this, we do plan to watch BTS videos with Elise and get dinner. So we've got to jump in.
Yeah, and it's the freaking weekend, baby.
Yeah, it's the Thanksgiving weekend, and I don't want any more obligations.
Yeah, it's what I'm done. So, am I even gonna edit this podcast? Probably not. Just gonna slap the intro at the beginning and be like, well, that's good.
Welcome to the Rock Hut.
Welcome to the Rock Hut. You get to hear all of our disgusting mouse noises.
Sorry.
Mouse noise.
Oh, God.
Sorry, I just really like my own Batman voice. Alright. It's the dreaded Perrin meets with the Shanshan chapter. And honestly, there's not actually much meeting with the Shanshan. There's just a lot of, like, the group posturing that is
so
involved.
stupid.
Yeah, it's very, silly. I would almost have preferred if we just, like, skipped all of this and just got into Perrin already being with the Shanshan. I think Robert Jordan's trying to do a narrative thing of, like, creating the scene where Perrin shakes hands with this Shanshan military leader, Ty Lee, to be like, look at how serious this is, but Robert Jordan doesn't, like, really treat it seriously beyond that imagery, so
Yeah.
it's difficult to get on board with.
Yeah, there's definitely the, like, weight of it being, like, an actual... It should be functioning as, like, you are making a deal with the devil. It should be a sort of, like, you're at the crossroads, you're sacrificing a certain amount of your soul in order to get something that you want. That is the sort of, like, literary imagery that this scene fits into, but, like, the tone and the actual imagery of the scene do not fit that. So the scene sits very weirdly with me.
Yeah, I think there's something in here about how Perrin's making a deal with not the worst people in the Shanshan Empire. He's not dealing with anyone who's really high up in the hierarchy. Most of the people we've seen who are Shanshan, who are really insufferable and sort of remind us that they are part of an empire built on slavery, are the Saddam and Daman, obviously.
Yeah.
But also these, like, aristocrats, like Surath, Tuon herself, that guy back in book 2 who Rand killed, etc., etc. It's hard to really feel like these military guys are anything other than just military guys.
Right.
There's a level of, people in charge of armies are the same everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, Ty Lee herself is just totally normal and personable. So is her little right-hand dude, whose name escapes me, but they've kind of got, like, a little buddy cop thing going on. Which is obviously not to say that people from bad systems of power can't individually be likable, but it
Yeah.
seems like a very purposeful choice on Robert Jordan's part to be like, make this easy for Perrin. You
Yeah,
know?
no, that's such a good point, Emily. I think that's exactly why the scene feels weird. Because to me, as a reader, I'm like, this is disgusting. I can't believe he's doing this.
Yeah.
But Tylee rolls up and she's just like funny and charming and is just like, gotta do what you gotta do type of attitude. And it's like, oh, she seems like a totally fine person.
Yeah, she's like normal. Perrin proposes this deal, and then she's like, oh, it seems like we can't keep our end of the bargain, so obviously we're not going to hold you to yours.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, just totally normal human being interacting with other normal human beings, except that in the background there's a Sildam, like, petting a Damon,
Yeah.
you know? So there's this element of, like, it's like if you were talking to someone and Princess Leia in a bikini is
Yeah.
in the background with a chain around her neck, you know?
Like, what is happening?
You'd be like, oh, it's really hard to get past this imagery, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's really hard to get past
Not
this,
prepared.
the enslaver in the background. And Perrin's like, that's not my business.
That's not my business, as long as you don't enslave any of my people that I'm actually overworking and
Yeah.
enslaving. So
Yeah. Yeah, you can't have Grady.
you can't have Grady and Nield. Apparently Nield can control the weather. That's like a little tidbit we learn in this
Yeah.
chapter. Perrin just mentioned something about Nield being pretty good at working with weather, and I'm like, fascinating.
Yeah, why did we not learn this before?
I don't know. Nield has some weird talents out
Yeah,
there, as
hidden
you will
depths.
learn in Towers of Midnight, I believe.
Nice. Sexy.
Yeah, sexy.
Something to look forward to.
It is something to look forward to. The one good scene. Just kidding. There's two good scenes in Towers of Midnight. What am I saying?
Good job, Towers of
It's
Midnight.
to make up for the zero in the Gathering Storm. We have to have a
Big fat goose egg. The book, there's so many pages and nothing of interest happens.
I'm racking my brains right now, trying to think of anything that happens in the Gathering Storm. I seriously can't think of it. I think the only good thing might be that Perrin isn't really in it.
Ugh. That is a win, but
But I don't know if you can count a negative, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, it's like a win by absentia.
Yeah.
It's not like a good thing that happened.
Christ. Anyway, to get to actual synopsis, we open with Perrin and his sort of usual group in the woods. They are waiting for the Shanshan to arrive. People keep being like, they're not coming. And Perrin's like, they're coming. Everyone just calm the fuck down. Barrelane is there. Her bodyguard dude does not want her to be there. She is pissed at Honora
Yeah.
because Honora was meeting with Massima behind her back. We have no further information on this. Presumably, Honora has maybe told her why she was meeting with Massima, or maybe she doesn't know that's why Barrelane is mad at her. Who knows? I don't know why Honora's meeting with Massima. So
Yeah, I was going to my questions to you. Do we ever find out?
perhaps, but I don't know. Aram has now been meeting with the Prophet and is parroting things that he says. He'll just be like, well, the Prophet says that this is gonna fail and the Shanshan won't help us. And Perrin's like, looks into the camera and is like, for some reason I thought that Aram could hang out with Massima and not tell him every single thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And we're like, Perrin, what about Aram led you to believe that he has good judgment?
Yeah. Like, homie.
He's an idiot.
He's
A grade A.
a grade A.
I'd like to call him
dummy.
a himbo, but that was 6 books ago. He was
He
was a himbo.
you have to have a certain level of jolly to be a
jolly. You have to have the Santa gene.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You're not a himbo unless you could theoretically take on the mantle of Santa Claus by killing Santa Claus.
That's what all the himbos are secretly training for.
The Santa.
To be Santa. Yeah, eventually they're going to usurp him.
I mean, you have to do something when you retire from being hot, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, Perrin is just like, I can't believe that Aram is falling for this. And it's like, you can't.
Yeah,
It's one of the, I know we've already talked about this at length, but it is like one of the more ridiculous things about Perrin that he's like, obviously Aram is very susceptible to outside
brainwashing,
influence. Yeah.
radicalization, and then he's like, what? Aram got radicalized? Who could have predicted this? And it's like literally everything about his narrative and character arc. So
Yeah, it's one characterization that Robert Jordan seems to sort of keep from beginning to end.
yeah,
Incredibly.
Aram, incredibly susceptible to cults. And then Perrin's like, "What's this guy doing in a cult? I can't believe it."
Yeah, like if we were going to if we had like a reality TV show style of Wheel of Time, Aram, like his Bachelor tagline would be like Aram
Has been in 6 cults.
he has been in 6 cults.
And every single time he goes through deprogramming and then just enters a cult again.
There's another cult, and they're like, "Why does this keep happening?"
He could be a character on The White Lotus. I'm watching The White Lotus and I just keep thinking
I'm really gonna have to watch it. I want to talk to you about it.
it's very fun.
But yeah, Ram is just like, the prophet says this isn't gonna work, but the Shanshan arrive.
The Shanshan arrive. Another thing that has happened off screen besides Aram meeting with the prophet is that Perrin has acquired a hammer,
Oh yeah.
which he's now carrying in place of his axe. To clarify, we haven't seen Perrin since the scene where he threw his axe at the tree and decided to meet with the Shanshan because Talon Vor came back and offered it as a choice. And it's just like a little logistically confusing. I think this is the same hammer he's had since book 3 that he like got in that random blacksmith shop. But then I'm like, has he seriously been lugging around a giant hammer for the last
Yeah,
8
this
books?
is my problem with Robert Jordan's axe versus hammer symbolism, is that Perrin is not carrying around a craftsman's hammer. He is carrying around like a full-ass war
a
hammer.
warhammer? There's a difference.
Like, it's just a different weapon.
Yeah.
So, like, the symbolism doesn't work. He's got fucking Mjolnir walking around. It's not like he's got his little Jesus Carpenter toolkit.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like a blacksmith's hammer is pretty visually different than a warhammer. Perhaps I'm wrong about that, but,
It's never described as just being, like, a tool hammer. Like, Perrin's used it as a weapon before.
yeah, he, like, got it at a blacksmith shop or whatever, but what does that mean? He also got his OG hammer in Master Luhan's blacksmith shop, and that was patently a warhammer. Yeah, I don't know.
It bothers me.
Yeah, it's just the underlying thing. There isn't really a difference between an axe and a hammer if you are using them the same way.
Yeah.
Which is to kill people.
Yeah, like, in a different context, an axe is also just a tool.
Yeah, the symbolism just falls apart completely.
It just doesn't
like,
make
homie.
any sense.
Yeah, like an axe is like the first tool you get in Minecraft, so I don't know what to tell you guys.
Yeah, so Robert Jordan was obviously not following Minecraft logic.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. And he should have been.
Yeah.
Would have made for better narrative. Anyway, that's just of note because as Perrin and his coterie, which is like Barrelane and then a bunch of their guards, they leave behind Grady, Honora, and a bunch of Two Rivers, like marksmen. They ride out into this field to meet the Shanshan, who are similarly accompanied by a large group of soldiers. And they meet, and Tylee looks at Perrin's eyes and his hammer and makes a comment about how he might be the Wolf King out of Prophecies, who apparently carries a hammer. And she says something about the fox marrying the raven. So she's like, oh, I don't know what that last part means, but the end days must be upon us. And it's like, oh, well, yeah, Wolf King over here and Foxman over there.
Foxman over there. I've got some bad news for you, Tylee.
Yeah, the end days are upon us.
These are indeed
And you will be
upon us.
judged.
Yeah.
Or will you? If Robert Jordan is your god, then no. But, they have this little quibble about, Perrin's like, you showed up with more people than we agreed. And she's like, yeah, so did you. What did you expect? And he's like, well, we should, to gain trust, everyone should send away their extraneous guys. And they're like, how are we gonna do that? If you go first, then, we can double cross each other. And he's like, well, it's in my best, I really want this. I'm the one who's asking for something here. You guys don't necessarily need me, so it's in my benefit for you to leave first, and let me prove that by taking my dick out. Just kidding. He has this stick that he, demonstrates how good his arrow boys can shoot, and he throws it up in the air, and Grady's like, fireball!
Fireball, fireball, fireball.
Fireball, which, pretty good range of Grady.
Yeah, good job, Grady.
Both of
As
them.
always.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, so you have Aes Sedai, and the Soldam who's like them is like, not an Aes Sedai, and they're like, Ashmat. And Perrin's like, yes. Very sexy.
Yeah, he's very sexy. He's very tired.
It is so tired. Poor Grady.
I know.
Poor Grady. But with that sort of out of the way, they send their people off and get down to the nitty-gritty of talking about Malden. The Seanchan are interested in making this attack. They apparently don't know the exact location. Perrin does. Perrin gives them the information that they are not just dealing with a normal band of Shadow, but with the bulk of the Shadow Wise Ones who can channel. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, well then there's no way we can fucking do that. And Perrin's like, no, I have this plan. It involves fork root. We just have to get a bunch of fork root, which you can help us with. And they're like, okay, well, that quantity of fork root no one would be able to get. And he's like, no, I have this signed permission slip from Sarath. And they're like, who are you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, did this belong to Massima? Was that where it came from?
It might have.
I couldn't figure it out. Couldn't remember.
I can't remember either. I know it was not given to Perrin. At least is the best I can remember. It does not belong to Perrin.
It's not like he's ever met Sarath.
Yeah.
And she would be like, oh yeah.
You do whatever you want.
Do whatever the fuck you want. I wouldn't be surprised if Matt ended up with that, but...
I can do whatever I want.
I can do whatever I want.
Matt Cathon.
I know there's a surprising amount of permission slips just floating around from all-powerful women.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, these people are all access, baby. VIPs.
Yeah.
And the deal that is made between these people... is that they will assist each other in this fight. Perrin also promises to give up any claims to Manetheren, which is important, we are led to believe, because, like, there's a big wind suddenly.
Yeah.
So it's like, look, the pattern is reacting to that. But it's like, I don't really get how someone else could make a claim to Manetheren. You know, you don't have to, so...
Yeah, I don't really get it either.
He's just like, I won't make a claim to Manetheren, so I guess that means Manetheren will be easier to conquer. And I'm like, so does that mean you're, like, sacrificing all of the people in Manetheren to the Seanchan?
Yeah.
I just don't fully understand. Because if that's the case, then that's a much bigger fucking deal.
Yeah, to just be like, my home, the two rivers, and all the surrounding...
Yeah, it's fucking open real estate, you know?
Just go take it. I don't give a shit about that. And
or is he just saying, like, there's not going to be a kingdom there? But, like, again, that's just saying it's easier to conquer.
Yeah.
It's pretty messed up, you know?
Yeah, when I first read it, I was like, oh, Perrin's just saying he won't do anything to stop them from going there. That's how I read it the first time I read it.
Yeah.
And I was like, ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
Because, like, what are you relying on to stop them then?
Yeah.
Rand, your whimsical little unreliable friend? Who knows?
Yeah. It's gross.
But that's the bulk of the deal. Tylee and her buddy are excited, you know? They're like, sweet, let's do it. Shake hands. We then switch over to Fael, who is standing attendance with some other guy, Shane, on Savannah as she argues with Tharava over Galena, who has had her head and eyebrows shaved. I'm laughing because it's better than crying. Galena's just, you know, being tormented publicly, constantly.
Yeah.
Just being beaten nonsensically all the time. She's naked, blah, 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 blah. Just Robert Jordan's walking advertisement for torture porn. Savannah's, like, in her bathrobe or whatever, with, like, her boobs out. I realized I would want Savannah to be played by Jennifer Coolidge.
That's such good casting.
I can really imagine Jennifer Coolidge bringing her breathy voice.
Yeah.
I will marry Randall Thorne.
It's also funny the idea of Savannah sort of having, like, crazy MILF energy.
Yeah.
Just being, like, a little bit unhinged.
Jennifer Coolidge is so good in all her roles at acting super unhinged.
Yeah.
And I just think that it would make Savannah make sense suddenly
I would
if
just
she
be
was
like,
played by Jennifer Coolidge.
Yeah, I get it.
I'd be like, oh, okay, I get it now.
You're not very pretty.
And you're not very bright. I'm glad we had this talk.
You do such a good impression of that line. You just, like, have her cadence down perfectly.
I'm glad we had this talk.
Jennifer Coolidge, a gift.
An icon, truly,
Yeah.
for the ages. Thorov was basically like, okay, well, people want to leave, you know? We don't want to stay here in Malden. And Savannah's like, well, I think we should stay in Malden because there's good soil and also I'm the king of the world here. And Thorov was like, well, not for long because some homie just got approved to go to Ruidaean, so he'll be back in about 7 months.
Yeah.
It's not like he's traveling.
Yeah.
He's got to go all the way back to the Ale Waste.
On foot.
And Savannah's like, why didn't you tell me? No one told me of this. And Thorov was like, no, bitch. You don't tell the king that you're about to usurp him.
Yeah. Also, you're not technically in charge.
I know. She's like, I'm the chief. And they're like, no, you're not. You're like the widow of the last chief. And she's like, well, I'm going to marry Rand al'Thor, who's the Karakhan. So then I'll be the chief of... Then I'll be the wife chief.
Chief wife.
And they're like, you are so crazy. Rand al'Thor's obviously not going to marry you. And she's like, we'll see about that. And takes her boobs out.
Yeah. And like, have you seen my weapons, though?
Have you seen them? Have you seen them?
And everyone is like, yeah, we have.
Yeah, we have a lot, actually. You do very little to contain them.
Yeah.
Sort of admirable, but also sort of unhinged.
Yeah. They're just everywhere, really.
As this is going on, we get the changing of the guard in the Guy Shane. So Fail and the others who are with her are relieved to go back to their tents. It's like raining, so Fail's trying quickly to get back. We get a little update from her in that she is accumulating more and more followers who are swearing fealty to her, which is sort of a problem because, of course, the more people you get, the more chances there are for someone to be unreliable and, you know, go running to Savannah. So she's constantly like, well, if that person tries, I'll just have to kill them. And I'm like, okay, bitch. Show me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Kill
prove it.
someone. Promises.
There's a lot of people threatening murder and not a lot of murder happening in the Wheel of Time, so...
Alas. As she's going back to her tent, Fail runs into a random wise one who asks her, you know, for a report on what Savannah's doing. As they're talking, there's a sort of bubble of evil that is just like a ripple in the pattern of sort of unreality. Fail can't really describe it, except that it's obviously upsetting, and everyone's like, ooh, I feel really hazy and misty almost for like a minute. But they go back. Fail is talking to Alejandra, who is also being beaten frequently, and is like, just keep your chin up, Alejandra.
Yeah.
And Alejandra's like, thank you for that advice. Some guys come to their tent, who are the best characters in this book, perhaps. It's just a dad and his son who were taken captive as Guy Shane. They're from Malden, and they have made multiple escape attempts and are improving in every escape attempt. So they're kind of like legends around the Guy Shane camp, which I just think is really funny. It's like a dude and his 14-year-old son.
Yeah.
His freakishly tall 14-year-old son.
Good for you, 14-year-old son.
And they're just like, yeah, we're just trying to get back to our family, so...
Yeah,
whatever. And they have now successfully stolen the Oath Rod, which will guarantee Galena's help, supposedly. It won't. But they hand that off to Fail, who is then distracted by Roland's arrival, and they have the most heinous conversation of all time, with Roland just putting flowers in Fail's hair throughout. And it's just like, yeah, I'm thinking of leaving. And she's like, oh, like, where? Well, that would suck because I'm constantly being threatened with rape, and apparently everyone else is. I think Alejandra has been raped. And we just have, you know, our little weird helpers who follow us and beat up anyone who tries to assault us.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not an ideal situation, obviously, because Roland clearly seems to expect something from it. But he's like, yeah, we're basically getting sick of the Shadow, and we'd rather just go live back in the Ale Waste. And I'm like, you could have made this decision like 6 months earlier, you hose, but... And he's like, yeah, and I think that, like, we'll take you with us and drop you off in the nearest town. And she's like, you made me think you were gonna leave without us. And he's like, just teasing. And it's like, what is this fucking Sex in the City?
Yeah,
Flirtation?
you're right. It has very Carrie Bradshaw vibes
know.
of also being somehow middle school vibes, but through adult people.
Yeah. And also, we're talking about something as serious and potentially life-threatening as escape from this camp,
Yeah.
you know? Basically a prison camp.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And
I don't know, guys. Just, like, get your tone correct. Robert Jordan's insistence on being like, I'm going to throw in this subplot about Faye potentially wanting to have an affair in the prison camp plot is, like, the most insane thing.
Yeah. Like, tonally, the idea of her flirting in a prison camp just feels a little...
Robert Jordan's like, I'll just sprinkle this in to lighten things up. And I'm like, you don't... What?
You shouldn't lighten up the plot about
Yeah.
being in a prison camp.
Yeah.
It's serious subject matter for a reason. And also, like, it's not that Faye is... Robert Jordan seems to treat it as Faye potentially wanting to have an extramarital affair. It is about her walking a very fine line with this person who is stopping her from being raped.
Yeah.
Like, I just, like, Robert Jordan also just treats their relationship in such a weird way.
Yeah, like, there's an element of blackmail to it.
Sure,
That is never
absolutely.
fully acknowledged by Faye.
Yeah.
Because at the same time that that's going on in the background, Robert Jordan has Faye being increasingly, like, Twitter-pated when
Yeah.
Roland is around.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, the feelings between people and their captors are complicated, but, like, this isn't the space for it.
Yeah.
Robert Jordan, you have not given a lot of room here for nuance, so trying to build that in, if that is indeed what you're trying to do, is not... This isn't the appropriate place for it.
And not at all. It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's... Yeah. We talked extensively about the types of dynamics, the idea of, like, to put it in, like, a very reductive kind of phrase, but I don't really know how else to say it, the idea of kind of, like, sex under occupation
Yeah.
is a very complicated issue. It's not as black and white as you are having consensual sex with your captors or you are being assaulted. Like, a lot of...
Huge gray area.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is happening. Like, it becomes very complex, and we talked a lot about it in our We Don't Watch Outlander, which is the podcast we do over on our Patreon page, when we read Phoenix Extravagant by Yoon-Ha Lee. So I know we had a very good discussion, and I don't think I'm going to do it justice, so I just want to say, if you're interested in that, you can go check that out. We had a pretty extensive discussion about it. Obviously, trigger warnings for talking about assault, but just to kind of, like, keep it more simple here in the podcast, because I also don't have, like, a ton of mental energy today to talk about all the issues here, but just to, like, reiterate what Emily said, like, it is a topic that requires a ton of nuance and a ton of, like, empathy towards women, and Robert Jordan has not built either of those things into this plot. And so it's just not possible to have a productive conversation about it. And so everything that he's doing feels wildly offensive.
Yeah, like, Faye breathes, and I'm like, somehow this is offensive to me.
Yeah.
Because Robert Jordan is so fucking weird about this entire subplot. I'm like, dude.
Somehow her just walking around feels misogynistic. So,
Feels like I hate crime.
yeah, I just, like, a lot is going on. And
None of it good.
None of it good. So...
So,
But shout out to this, it's the 14-year-old son who gets the oath rod,
Yeah.
right? He's just like, yeah, I just snatched it. And it's
just,
like,
this tent was open, and I just walked right in there. And I'm like, damn, son.
yeah, this fucking regular
MVP.
Danny Ocean over here.
Yeah, seriously.
And feels like, I've been trying to get this for, like, months. And he's like, well, like, it's hard.
Well, like, it's hard. Me, a 14-year-old boy.
Anyway, he's my favorite character.
But yeah, this is our, you know, the grim news from the front. This
Yeah.
is what Perrin must make a deal with the devil to rescue Faye from.
Yeah.
Because clearly she's not getting out on her own, so something has to be done externally, and it's either going to be Roland or Perrin.
And the lengths to which Robert Jordan goes to prove to us that Faye cannot get out of here on her own is absurd. Like, everything that happens when they're finally like, okay, Galena, we're ready to escape, like, everything that happens is, like, so nonsensical.
I know.
From them being, like, trapped into a house of falling timbers
like, Robert Jordan has been out to make Faye look as incompetent as possible from the beginning, while also insisting she's a very competent woman.
Yeah.
I'm like, you cannot have it both ways, bestie.
You can't.
Like, pick one or the other.
Yeah.
And it's just him undermining his own female characters, as usual.
Constantly. It's just like a bunch of nonsense. But don't worry, because Perrin will arrive to rescue her in approximately 700 pages.
Yeah, so snuggle in and get comfortable.
Yeah. We
Don't
still
worry
have
too much.
most of Knife of Dreams to get through. Or at least maybe all of Knife of Dreams to get through until we get to the end.
Yeah.
When we'll finally have the attack on Malden. So,
Jesus.
and it's been so long that it doesn't even feel satisfying when it finally happens.
Yeah, you're just like, woof.
Yeah.
Glad that's over. Okay, next week we are moving into a lengthy Matt section. 6 or 7 chapters of it. Before we get back to Perrin and Fail. So, brace yourselves for a pivot to different offensive Robert Jordan material, but offensive all the same.
Yeah.
At least there will be, like, cool horses,
There's some cool horses.
cannons being developed. you know?
Cannons.
There's some bright spots in the
Noel's
murk.
there.
Noel's there. He sure is. But that's what's on the agenda. This is a short one today. Enjoy your holidays
Yeah.
as we enjoy ours.
Yeah.
Also, I just don't want to talk about this shit right now.
There's just like,
I have to celebrate. I have to give thanks tomorrow.
And what am
What am
I
I meant
supposed
to
to
give
do
thanks for?
if we had to talk any more about Robert Jordan
Yeah.
not understanding the nuances of keeping someone enslaved? I mean, obviously there's not a ton of nuance. It's bad. But like if you're going...
But Robert Jordan would have us believe that there's a lot of...
Yeah. There's a lot of gray area.
Shut up.
And we're just not welcoming that into our day today. We are choosing
I reject
self-care.
that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm putting it back out into the universe.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, though. Thanks to our patrons on Patreon, our followers on social media, and our thanks to Glenna McKenzie for our theme song.
Absolutely.
As a note, if Twitter happens to go down in the next few weeks, always a possibility these days, you can still find us on Instagram and on Tumblr.
Yeah. Much less of a presence on Tumblr. But if Twitter goes down, that will probably change.
Probably change,
So.
indeed, yeah.
And also, I just wanted to say, in the light of the shooting that happened in Colorado last week, where a drag club was attacked by an active shooter, I know this obviously is not solving the problem, but I just wanted to send a reminder that any books that are purchased through our bookshop.org page, we get 10% of that back, and then Emily and I then take that 10%, match it if we are able to, and donate it to mutual aid and direct aid requests, prioritizing Black and Indigenous trans people in the United States. That is very important to both of us as members of the queer community, but also trans people are some of the most attacked and marginalized people in our country for sure, and potentially around the world, and we feel that that is very important. So if you feel really hopeless in the face of what happened, you are not alone, but there are some things that you can do to help out the queer community in small ways.
Yeah, things are getting worse. Not just in terms of violence, but in active legislation.
Yes.
So keep an eye on that. Vote your asses off.
Vote your asses off, organize, protect, speak up for the queer community.
Don't fucking buy books from J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, don't
I'll
buy-
come to your house.
Yeah, we will. And I will take your J.K. Rowling
That's
books.
that's not a nice thing. It won't be
It
fun.
won't be pleasant. We'll beat
I
you
know
up.
you'd under normal circumstances you'd like me at your house. I'm very sexy and fun.
That's true. She's a great house guest.
But
She's a guest in my house every day.
I pay half the rent. I'm a
I
guest.
know. It was just a dumb joke.
God damn it.
But no, we will come to your house and beat you up with your Harry Potter books.
yeah, no, I'll kill you.
Threat. I'm not joking. That was a threat.
Parentheses threat.
Threat.
Okay, everyone.
Yeah, so sorry to end on a bit of a downer, but it's important to acknowledge the things that are
End on
happening.
a bit of a down.
You're right. You're right. This whole episode has been like violence against women, violence against the trans community, collaborate with fascist regimes.
Welcome to the end of the Wheel of Time series.
Yeah. And as always, protect your mental health in whatever ways you need to. But that includes finding ways to help your community. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Do you have a sign off?
Yes. Oh man. I was, as you guys know, I've been sick, and I was developing a lot of, like, chest pains. We went into the doctor. I'm fine. I've just developed inflammation in my chest that's very painful, and there's, like, nothing you can really do about it, so they gave me some, like, codeine cough syrup to pick up at the pharmacy at the clinic. So I'm, like, there. My chest hurts. Emily is just sort of, like, guiding me around the clinic. I look sad and exhausted. And I go up to the counter to pick up my cough syrup. And some guy comes up to me and he's like, "Hi, are you Sally?" And I was like, "Yes, do you have my cough syrup?" And he was, because there was another person helping me. So I'm like, "What's happening?" Yeah. And he's like, "No, I'm so-and-so." And I was like, "Oh, fuck." You know, I know exactly who this is. We work together. In kind of a convoluted way. And he's like, "We've just been emailing, so I wanted to come and introduce myself." And I'm like, this is so kind. This is like the most polite thing you could do, and you're being so wonderful. But I feel like dog shit right now, and I do not want to have to be like professional Sally. I want to pick up my cough syrup and leave. So then I had to sit there and be like, blah, 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 Grants.
She sounded very professional from where I was
Thank
sitting.
you.
So fake it till you make it, people.
But I was just like, really? Why am I being punished?
Really did feel like punishment.
Thank you. It was just rough. So, watch out at your local pharmacy. You never know when one of your
never know when
coworkers
someone
might
could
pop
know
up.
you.
Yeah. God.
All right, everyone. Have a good week.
Bye.